Welcome to Pull or Pass, your weekly geeky comic book radio show. This is issue 11, and I'm Mark.
And I'm Zach.
Hello, Zach.
Hey.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm keeping on and that.
This is not a political show, and that is all we have to say about that.
Yes, fair.
So, news.
News, we got some. There's some news.
There is some news. Should we go through our kind of like local news first? We did an After Dark. We did a massive 90-minute After Dark.
A 90-minute After Dark.
I know. 90 minutes of talking about TKO books. We went through all of the 8 TKO books that are available for free on PDF from their website. You can download them first and read them and join in, or you can listen to what we think and then stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's already up. That was posted last Tuesday, and get listening, because that's our special podcast-only version that we do when we feel like it.
Yeah, and it was fun. We had a special guest.
We did, Will.
And
he was very insightful, very clever, and had some good things to say.
He did.
Yeah, we chatted about 8. It was basically a massive pull or pass, but with like 8 books by the same publisher.
Yeah, a lot more reading.
It was, yeah. It was well good. Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. You got some comic book news as well, haven't you, Zach? Comic book club news even.
Yes, I do have comic book club news.
Yeah.
So January, it'll be January the 7th, which will be guest hosted by Will as well, because I'm away.
Yeah.
We will be reading Sentient from TKO, which is Jeff Lemire and Gabriel Walters.
It's almost like we did it deliberately.
Yeah, look at our time, and it's all...
We did do it deliberately.
Yeah.
But you've also announced all the books for the year, haven't you, as well?
Yeah, we've got the full list for next year, which, if you wanted to come along, you can find at Manchester Comic Book Club on Facebook, it's a group, and on Twitter at something ridiculous like Mank Comic Book, because so many better names were taken.
Right. But yeah.
Yeah, everything's there, and it's a good list.
It is a good list. I'm looking forward to most of them.
It's quite an indie-heavy year, and...
But there's some Marvel, there's some British, there's some DC, there's a nice mix, there's some manga as well.
There is, yeah.
A good mix.
I think previous years we've had more Marvel and more DC, so I'm trying to move forward and broaden people's horizons.
Is that what it is? It's not just you picking the books what you like?
A little column A, a little column B. I can do both.
So we've got the massive comic book news. Maybe we should do that last.
Yes.
Have you got anything else? Because I haven't.
The only other thing I've got is same company, and it's that Shazam 2, which I have co-named here We're a Happy Shazamily.
Is that what it's actually called?
No, but it's been 10 years, Mark. I've been trying to get over the name Shazamily for the full Shazam family.
Shazamily.
It's not caught on yet, but now I've got a reach. And
it sounds like a very much unneeded sequel to a cult French film.
Yeah, it does a bit.
It does. It sounds like she's got a sister called Sharon, and Shazamily is the film that nobody wanted.
But everybody got anyway.
Yeah.
And that is the 1st of April, and I believe that's 2022 is the release date.
Do you know, I might have left the country by then. Or who knows? That's like so far away.
Shazam will follow you wherever you go, though.
Well, that's true. But it's so far away. It's like, isn't it released around the same time as the new Spider-Verse film, which is so far away?
Yeah, I think it's a similar time period, maybe about a month difference.
Do you know what isn't far away, Zach?
That's right, it's Wonder Woman.
The Wonder Woman 1984.
Which,
that's like,
in one sense, is quite far away, because 1984 was like 40 years ago.
That's true. Well, it feels like 1984 now. Oh, we're not supposed to be a political show. Yeah, there was a rather good trailer for Wonder Woman 1984, which is coming out in May.
I want to say April.
April? Soon.
I thought
next year
was May.
Yeah. Next year, good. And, well... As someone who was a very young boy in the 80s, I was born in 1978, so by 1984 I was 6. So this is very much my childhood. Bloody love the soundtrack. Oh, how I love the soundtrack. It reminds me of my tender years when life was simpler. Wait a minute, Maggie was in power.
Well,
and she was just about to put in Section 28.
as I would have been -7 in 1984. I don't remember it as fondly as you, but I do love Blue Monday.
Yeah,
so
it's a great song. It is a great song. And there was a lady with very 80s glasses on.
Yes.
My mum had those glasses in the 80s. My mum, those 80s. She had this beautiful, beautiful mullet. She had like a bird's nest on the top, straight, and then she used tongs to curl just the ends of her mullet. It was magnificent. With those glasses, I was just like, oh, best hairdo. She hates those photos, and she'd probably hate it if she knew about this. She doesn't listen. Still sorry, Mom.
I think we all have a family member who, we've got photos of them in the 80s with that haircut and those glasses.
Yeah. Best.
But
I like her outfit. It's very 80s. And I loved I thought Wonder Woman, the first one, suited being set in the past really, really well, and this is my past, this is my lifetime, so I'm even more excited about it than I was for the first one.
See, I've been kind of cynical about this. So I understand Captain Marvel was set in the 90s as a kind of retroactive introduction of, hey, she was here all along.
Right.
With this, I kind of feel like if we're having 2 Wonder Woman films set in the past and the villains are in the past, what's Wonder Woman doing right now? So I'm kind of
being overpowered before she gets to the Batman vs Superman film that she shouldn't have been in, that they shouldn't have had that bit at the end.
I mean, there's an argument they shouldn't have had any of that film, but okay.
No, I actually quite liked it when it was Batman vs Superman. It was just the last 30 minutes where they rushed Doomsday that sucked.
Yeah, too much Doomsday. When there was no call for Doomsday.
Arguably not enough Doomsday. They didn't put enough. They rushed it so much that it was shallow. Anyway, we're not talking about that film. We're talking about a film that's actually going to be well good, I reckon.
But I'm kind of curious how they're going to sow the seeds of catching us up with current Wonder Woman and what we've seen in Justice League and Batman Superman.
Well, I'm hoping there's going to be a 90s one as well. Because, love the 90s.
I love the 90s, but I almost feel like DC are going to avoid that because they don't want to be too much like Captain Marvel.
Maybe.
I think that's probably where they're going to come in with this.
Maybe.
I also, not to remain that guy, but the film looks real cool. I think all the action sequences look great.
They do. The stuff with the lasso is amazing.
Yeah.
Loved it.
They're going to have to pull off something really impressive to explain why Steve Trevor's back. Because, I mean, I've got what I think it is.
Comic books, innit?
I really want Steve Trevor to be Ares.
Okay.
And...
Okay.
Because how do you die and come back unaged? So I'm putting him down as... It might not be Ares, but he is some Greek god taking the form of Steve Trevor.
Brilliant.
Because that's the only thing I'll accept as like a rational...
I don't think that's...
If not, it doesn't make sense how he's back. So
I watched this... I watched this...
If I'm right, we'll see in April, Mark, won't we?
Okay. I watched this trailer, and it was full of 80s, and it made my heart burst with joy. I didn't think it could get any better, and then there was a bum bag. Yes. It ended with a bum bag. I was like, could it be better? In all seriousness, the first Wonder Woman film worked, set in the past, and it was great, and it was probably the best DC film. Even now, I think it's the best DC film. I think it's better than Aquaman, and I think it's better than Shazam. This is set, like I say, this is set in a time that I do vaguely remember, so I'm even more excited for it. Mm-hmm. I loved this trailer, but I think there's an element of confirmation bias. I was always going to love this trailer. They played Blue Monday, for good's sake. Yeah. There was lots of 80s going on, and it was like, Mark, this is exactly what you want, here you go. So yeah. I don't think I'm really a fair person to be analysing this.
Yeah, I get that. I feel like we've got a really stacked start to next year with the amount of comic films that are coming out.
I'm excited.
Yeah, all three that we there's probably more than three. The three I can think of immediately all look cool, all look quite different. I don't know if I'm as excited for this as I am for Black Widow.
I'm more excited for this than for Black Widow, and considering I'm a massive Marvel mark compared to my kind of general disdain for DC, that says a lot.
That does say a lot, and I guess we'll both come at this from different points of view then, so...
Don't get me wrong, I'm going to love both of them, I know I am. And it's interesting that the two female protagonists are being released so close to each other.
Even the trailers as well, though, it almost feels like this has been released in a kind of DC going, hey, you can't steal our thunder.
Is there an element of one-upsmanship here?
I think so. I think this is very much, Marvel have released a trailer, so we have to release our trailer.
Yeah, but it's a kick-ass trailer. They're both kick-ass trailers, actually. I'm very excited, Zach.
They both look very different, and I think they both look good in different ways.
Do you know, comics can't put the world to rights, but they can cheer me up, and this trailer, and thinking about this trailer, has cheered me up a bit.
That's good. I'm glad you cheered.
Yeah.
Enthused and that.
Let's get on with it then. This is the main meat of the show. This is where we talk about 3 of this week's comic books. We say what we think and whether or not we would like to add them to our pull, or in this case, we are going to pass. But Zach, what is a pull?
So I have it on good authority that a pull is kind of a loose subscription service with a comic book shop. And you kind of, you'll take up the comic you want to buy and they'll be all, hey, Zach, you want to put this on your standing order, your pull? And I'll be like, you know what? Yeah, this week I will. I'm really into this comic I have here. So, yeah, I'll pull it. And then they'll kind of save all the coming issues of that for you, along with whatever else you've agreed that you want. And you can come in to collect whenever you're ready, so once a month when you get paid, or every week if you're desperate for more of that sweet, sweet comic.
And you're massively obsessed, like 2 people who host a comic book radio show.
Yes, I guess you could describe it as that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what a pull is. And, we have our pull at Travelling Man, don't we, Mark?
We do. That was a smooth as silk transition, Zach. Travelling Man are our sponsor. They are based in where we are, in Manchester, but they also have shops in York, Newcastle and Leeds. They are your local comic book shop in those cities, but you can also go to their website, www.travellingman.co.uk, and order stuff from them if you don't have a local comic book shop. They are dead kind and help us out with their sponsorship, and they've basically go there for your Christmas gifts, because who doesn't want, like, comics or manga or board games or a model of a video game character or a pin badge or lots of cool nerdy things. They've got it all. Loads of geekery.
Incidentally, going to pin badges, they do stock my antisocial people person enamel pins, which I haven't promoted on the show before, but
there you go.
They're cool. Go buy them.
You also make music, don't you, Zach?
I do. I'm Zach Reagan, mostly.
Yeah.
Available now through Spotify and the Bandcamps and the Facebooks and all that.
Yeah. And I'm a humanist celebrant, if you didn't know.
You are.
Yeah.
Celebrate humans.
I'm accredited by... No. Well, yes, but I'm accredited by Humanists UK, and that means that I can perform non-religious weddings and funerals. If you want to get in touch, you can look at my... I've got a website, www.humanist.org.uk/Mark Adams. Yeah. And I'm training for namings in the new year, so I can do the trifecta by May.
The trilogy.
Yeah. Good times. Should we stop the plugs and get on with the show?
We've gone really plug heavy in like the last 30 seconds.
Good. Let's get on with the business. It's time to get heavy about comics.
Aye.
We are doing Marvel's Avengers Iron Man by Marvel, Dark Knight Returns The Golden Child by DC, which is a Black Label title, and Red Mother by Boom. That is a little bit of a change to what we said we were going to do last week even, because we couldn't get hold of Killlock by IDW, unfortunately.
Apparently Killlock just isn't out.
So. Oh, is it not out yet?
Apparently not.
How bloody hell do we manage that?
I'm not sure.
Whatever.
Maybe our sources aren't as ironclad as we thought.
Right. I'm going to do it in the kind of Marvel, DC, indie kind of order. So, Marvel's Avengers Iron Man. It's got that weird long name because it's a Gamerverse comic book.
So it's Marvel Avengers Iron Man.
Yeah, because the video game that is coming is called Marvel's Avengers, and so this is a one-shot, but there's going to be lots of one-shots about the Marvel's Avengers video game, which will set you up the storyline of what you've got for each of the different characters that are going to be a major character in the video game. And when I came into this, I was like, this is a really good idea. I think, 5 or 6 one-shots, one for each character, set up exactly what the Gamerverse is compared to the MCU and or the comic book universe. Great idea. And hopefully it will work, and it will mean that people are going to buy the video game, they'll buy this. People who buy this might go, ooh, I quite fancy the video game now. But I found it a little bit incongruous.
This isn't the first dabbling in the Gamerverse comics. We did have last year
Spider-Man.
The Spider-Man
for the PS4 Spider-Man, yeah.
Which then kind of led to him appearing in Spider-Geddon. So this
Of course.
Yeah. And that was not entirely necessary, but I quite liked it. This, I don't know, this felt more forced almost, I think.
For me, major franchises like Matrix, 24, as I was growing up, they put their games in the same universe. I don't know why this couldn't have been in the MCU.
Yeah, I know they have had previous kind of dabblings. I know there was an Iron Man game after Iron Man 2 came out, I think.
Oh, was there? I didn't know that. Okay.
And I don't think it was very well received, but
okay.
I remember it nonetheless. So I guess it's interesting when I guess we were aware of there's a multiverse, and they've kind of hinted it in the comics, obviously through Spider-Geddon and stuff, that the games are their own little version of that,
which is kind of clever.
Yeah, and it allows them to be like, well, we've changed things around because of these reasons.
I did find that there was an odd reliance on familiarity, even though it's supposed to be a separate universe.
Yeah, it still felt like it was expecting you to know, either from the films or from the comics, enough about the Avengers to not really question. We've got
a lot of assumptions.
And this kind of hybrid Nick Fury appears, who's...
I was going to mention the hybrid Nick Fury.
Half Samuel L. Jackson and half classic Nick Fury.
Classic white Nick Fury.
Yeah, so he's got kind of the...
He looks like classic white Nick Fury, but he's black.
Yeah, and
basically,
I know that's how Ultimate Nick Fury did start out before he just became Samuel L. Jackson, but it was still.
It's a weird amalgam, and I don't
weird shuffling
like
of the two characters, two versions of this iconic character.
I tell you what, Titania's a bit of an obscure baddie, isn't she?
See, I really like her, though.
I love Titania. I love the Titania and Absorbing Man relationship. It shows that, evil people fall in love too. It's great.
I'm going to take this so unrelated, but have you read Black Bolt?
No.
So Black Bolt was a couple of years ago now, and Black Bolt ends up in prison in space, as you do.
Of course.
With Absorbing Man, and he explains, how they fell in love and their story.
That's pretty cool. But it's not this universe's Titania and Absorbing Man, remember?
But that's one of the best comics I've ever read. So
really?
Not even full Black Bolt, but that issue.
Right.
It's just gold. But no, unfortunately, that's not this universe's.
But she looks exactly like standard Marvel Universe Titania.
Yeah.
As does, what's his name?
Crusher Creel.
And in fact, they all look like standard Marvel Universe. There's no real.
There's kind of subtle changes, but nothing that's going to make you think this is a different universe.
Looks like, it looks like the usual outfits in the wash.
Yeah.
And they're wearing the prototype.
But, yeah, it's a strange one. It looks almost too close to what you expect. It would have been nice to see a more Spider-Man game versions of the Spider-Man characters are reminiscent of the original comic book versions, but changed enough that you can go, okay, this is cool and this is different and I like it. Everyone feels a little bit too as you would expect.
Yeah. What I will say is it is an interesting modern story about there's tech theft and there's hacking and there's a modern day black market, and I liked the story. I enjoyed the comic. I didn't expect to enjoy the comic at all, and I read through it, and I was like, I thought it was going to be a slog. I got to then, and I was like, I quite enjoyed that actually.
I don't think it's an amazing comic, but I think it was an okay little Iron Man. The fake conversation that's kind of. There's a bit where Tony's talking to Bruce, and it's like, and Banner basically says, but S.H.I.E.L.D. can just hear us having this conversation. And he's like, no, I've kind of masked it with a different conversation.
Yes.
And the panel is just...
That was funny.
Them arguing about mayonnaise on fries.
That was brilliant. I put that in my notes as well. That was genuinely very clever and funny.
That might be my favourite thing in this issue. I could have just read those two panels, and I'd be like, this was an okay comic. That's
going to be the kind of thing that will actually be put on social media in future, I think, because it's a really clever and funny thing. It's really good. So I guess the question is, obviously we can't pull Marvel's Avengers Iron Man because there's only going to be one, but are you going to look at buying the other Marvel's Avengers video games, Gamerverse, blah 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 comics? There's a Thor one coming next, and there's going to be ones for the other characters. Has this made you think, I want to read the rest of them?
I don't think I'm going to pick up the rest of them, so it's a pass for me, but I think I am going to get the game. I think so, but I think I was probably going to get the game anyway.
Right.
So I feel like there's going to be some people who want this little bit of backstory, and I think I wasn't overly fussed. So.
For me, I just simply don't have the time to play the game, and therefore I'm not going to buy it, even though it looks amazing. I have a very, very busy life at the moment, and I probably shouldn't have a comic book radio show, but I like comics. So I'm not buying the game. So I fully expected to not only not enjoy this, but feel good about passing on it. But a different Mark in Mark in the Gamerverse would have pulled this, because I like collections and this was good. And if I was going to buy the game and I bought this comic, I would definitely have bought the rest of them. But I'm not buying the game, so there just isn't any point in me buying them. But it impressed me because I thought it was going to be ropey, and it was much better than I expected it to be.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
So there you go. If you're planning on buying the game, my recommendation is get it. But I'm not. Because I'm not. Anyway,
totally fair.
Let's move on to the DC Black Label one. And in the Milking of a Cash Cow sequel that nobody wanted, Dark Knight Returns: The Golden Child.
Which I've got my review down to one sentence.
Go on.
This is brand new, and it feels dated.
Yes. I did cover it with the sequel that nobody wanted. There's nothing. It's just milking a cash cow, and that's okay. I have no problem with that. If it can make the money and there are fans out there that want to read it, great. Brilliant for them, brilliant for everybody involved. For me, it's already lost its authenticity by Frank Miller not being the artist as well as the writer of of a Dark Knight Returns book.
This is the second time we've seen it, though, because Dark Knight 3...
Yep.
I think it Jim Lee did the art, but in the style of Frank Miller.
Didn't like that either.
This felt like it was Raphael Grandpa. I can't believe that's his name.
It's a good name.
It's kind of him doing his own style, but via Frank Miller.
Oh, it's great art. Don't get me wrong, but it's not Frank Miller, so therefore it's not The Dark Knight Returns to me.
What I've written in my notes is that I think the designs for Batwoman and Lara look really good. I think the actual characters look. Jonathan looks just horrendous. I don't know if it's the hair that makes me afraid of him or.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I'm not criticising the art at all. It's better art than Frank Miller's art, but that's not the point. Frank Miller is the artist and writer of The Dark Knight Returns. Why are they messing with it?
One of the things I will say in that vein is kind of character design-wise, it is good, and I think it does suffer almost from being it's a different artist trying to be Frank Miller. Just makes you think, well, why isn't Frank Miller doing it? If it's going to be someone trying to do Frank Miller, why not just ask Frank?
Yeah.
Going back to Jonathan Kent, it does kind of bum me out because I think we have he's obviously changed and now he's in the Legion of Superheroes, but Jonathan Kent in Rebirth has been such an amazing character and is really likable that I'm kind of I don't know if I needed another Jonathan Kent.
Right.
I like mainstream John Kent.
Right.
That's me.
I felt that I read The Dark Knight Returns. I haven't read any of the others, and there's a reason for that. The Dark Knight Returns is a masterpiece, and I genuinely didn't think it needed a sequel or a sequel or a sequel. So I could have done with a Who's Who, because these characters have jumped way years in the future.
Yeah.
And The Dark Knight Who Returned isn't even in it other than references. You don't see it.
Yeah, it's quite fleeting, like referring to him as the boss and acknowledging that he's...
So it's not really The Dark Knight Returns, it's
that universe.
It's The Dark Knight's kids return.
Yes.
Maybe. You know what I mean? And there's a lot to like. There are some very current themes. The stuff about the election very much hit a raw nerve with me this week because of, it is election time here in Britain. By the time this show is broadcast, we will know the results. And I feel like this book has a little bit more meaning.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think...
And it is very well written, political, but damn, it's bleak. And I could have done without a bleak book about horrible politics in a week where things are looking, for someone of my political persuasion, are looking very bleak.
Yeah, I think that's totally understandable. Maybe this wasn't the right week for this book, but I imagine that was decided before the general election was.
Exactly right.
But... I kind of don't have a lot positive to bring to this one.
No. I certainly don't want to read any more of it.
Almost the opposite of that for me. I haven't read anything that came before this. And
not even the original Dark Knight Returns?
No, and I'm not going to lie to you, other than you right then, nobody's ever asked. Everyone has always assumed that you read comics. You must have read Watchmen, Killing Joke, and Dark Knight Returns. So I'll just treat you like you have. No one's ever asked.
Yeah,
and
I would have assumed that until we had this conversation. Yeah.
So, it never really piques my interest.
It's exceptional. There's a reason why it's infamously good.
I can believe that. One of my things with this, though, and I didn't write this down, it's just a conscious thing of... Dark Knight Rises has always been presented to me in this kind of, this isn't your parents' Batman, and that kind of, this is different from the Batman you expect, but the problem is, it is my parents' Batman, because it came out before I was born. So
Did it?
Yeah.
Is it that old?
I think so, right? 80s?
Was it 80s? I thought it was 90s, but yeah, okay.
I don't know. I always assume it feels like a Batman for a generation that isn't mine.
It was a grittier Batman for the time, but a lot of more modern Batman has been as gritty as Dark Knight Returns, for sure.
So I guess it's just never spoken to me.
I don't think it'll shock you like it shocked the readers at the time, for sure.
But, so kind of because of that, I've never really... bothered with it, and this doesn't exactly make me want to. This kind of cash in, I guess.
Yeah. It could have been worse, actually, and I think I expected it to be worse.
Yeah.
It was a clever political story that was fine, completely unnecessary, and if I'm being brutally honest, I'd prefer it didn't exist, because I think they should have left it alone. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it could have been.
I get that.
And I bloody love Frank Miller. Sin City is my favourite comics and favourite films. I love Frank Miller. But write something new, mate.
Yeah, I feel like don't keep going back to this well. I mean, DC clearly want him to. And
I think there's a statement of putting a Dark Knight Returns title into Black Label. It shows a seriousness for pushing Black Label, I think.
See, I feel really weird about it, because it's like I know we've seen established huge DC titles like All-Star Superman has been republished and now it's Black Label, and
right.
I don't need that. the books we've read, like Harleen, Killer Smile,
Yeah.
and
All the Joe Hill stuff.
yeah, the Joe Hill books. We've got another title coming up next week from Black Label. That's another new book. I think DC needs to kind of sever the ties and go for the. We don't need to re-release stuff that's already an established success or add to that. We can just compartmentalize that. Go that exists. People love it. That's great. And let Black Label showcase new creators and new artists and new people doing interesting things. If Frank Miller and Grant Morrison aren't part of Black Label, I don't really feel that matters, because they're huge names from the 80s, 90s, 2000s. Let the 2010s speak for themselves.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe I'm asking too much from a company that often go back to
Milks
old
a cash
ideas.
cow. Yeah.
But I feel like the Black Label books we've read that are by Lemire, Stefan Sayek,
Yeah.
other such artists are available, have been exceptionally good.
Yeah,
and
I
we
think
both
so.
love them. And I feel
Yeah.
like this is like
There.
also available.
Yeah.
So
So again, because this is a one shot, is it for you? Are you going to read any more Dark Knight?
I don't think so. I think should the occasion arise and someone lends it to me or whatever, maybe. But at the moment, no.
I'd heard that the sequels weren't very good, and I've only read the original Dark Knight Returns, and this has made me go, that was all right. So my priority for reading the rest of the Dark Knight has not changed. I will probably get round to it at some point, but my goodness, there's a massive, massive queue of books that are in front of it.
What's always made me,
And that hasn't changed at all because of reading this.
what's always made me curious is I've always heard that Dark Knight Strikes Back isn't as good as Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
And yet, still everyone went out and got Dark Knight 3.
Yeah, yeah. And then was surprised when it wasn't as good.
So it's almost like people don't trust themselves. It's like, I didn't like the second one, but maybe I'll like the third.
Yeah.
So it's a strange one.
Yeah. Let's move on to Red Mother by Boom Comics.
Yes.
And oof, the first page.
Just beautiful. And horrific.
Yes.
Horribly beautiful.
Macabre.
Good word.
Yeah.
Good use of macabre
Apt
there.
word. Very, very good. It made me go, oof, horror book.
Yeah.
And I do like me a horror book.
Yeah, and I think this is immediate first page terror. And
Yeah.
cracking. Yeah. Good job.
You know how I whine about Marvel's full page wastes?
Yes.
This had, if it was Marvel, it would have been a full page waste, but the way they did it, I was like, oh, shivers up the spine.
Yeah, right.
Even though it was a full page waste, and it's exactly what Marvel did. Well, it's not quite exactly what Marvel did, which is why it worked and why it was good. And I was like, oof, I should hate that, but I love it.
I was worried we were going to disagree about this.
No.
But that double page spread was that double page spread of nothing as well.
It worked.
It's just like, oh, that is good though.
And that's how it should be done. It should be done for impact, not just to fill a page with white.
So,
Or a logo.
I guess we should fill people in. The other two books have been kind of explanatory of what they are. So,
Oh, yeah, good point.
Red Mother is a young couple walking home alone, get attacked by something.
A horror.
Boyfriend disappears, and girlfriend, whose name I've not written down. I feel bad about that now.
Horribly mutilated.
Yeah, and it's kind of catching up with them after the event, and well, catching up with her after the event, and
We don't know where he's gone.
where's he gone, and how will she cope?
Yeah.
And the police are investigating, her friends are concerned about her, obviously, and that's Red Mother. And
Yeah. I'm a sucker for a full page spread, we know this, but I'm also a sucker for a narrative that's told without words.
Yep.
One of my favourite graphic novels of all time is called The Arrival by Sean Tan.
Yep.
And it's a story about immigration with no words. And it's exceptional. And again, this did a great job of telling a story, telling a narrative without dialogue, and it genuinely put shivers up my spine. I was like, oh, you're good at this.
Yes, I very much agree. Kind of almost a slow burn of a first issue.
Yes.
But I think that works
Very
for a horror book.
The monster. The monster is the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah.
It takes a lot for me to be bothered by a monster these days. I've seen all the horror films I need to see, but I want to see more. I've read so many horror comic books, but I want to read more. Well, as I was a kid, I read horror. I hid horror books because I was too young to read them. I hid them from my parents. I read Slugs by Sean Hudson when I was about 12. Really shouldn't have done. Horror is my jam. And just once in a while, there's a horror bad guy that I just go, oh.
Yeah.
And I got a oh, with this one. And I was like, oh, thank you. Boom are just killing it. We've read a lot of Boom recently.
Boom have done some good stuff.
Oh my days.
What I would compare this to in a horror film sense is, so, you know, The Eye?
Yes.
Which there was originally a Asian horror film.
Yeah.
Remade with Jessica Alba. Very similar kind of vibes there.
It did feel...
And I do like The Eye, so...
It did feel like it had a kind of Japanese influence on it, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And yeah, it works, I think.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I didn't check. Is it limited or is it ongoing? Because I think it's...
I actually don't know.
I think it'll benefit from being limited, but it doesn't matter if it's ongoing.
I feel like the whole tone of it suggests that this might be like a 6-issue, 12-issue maybe run.
Don't care.
But
pull. Massive pull. This is for me.
Yeah,
I'm having that. Pull.
Unsurprisingly, I think we're both of us. I'm a pull as well. So.
Yeah.
Shocking that, isn't it? When it's a horror one that's presented in the format it's meant to be, we both pull it.
Yeah, we both do like the horrors. I predicted that you would pull that. I just couldn't see how a horror book that got me like that wouldn't have got you.
Yeah,
we disagree on a lot.
But normally horror books we're both into.
We just loves the horror.
I'm going to say the same thing I've said for some of the Hill House books. I think maybe it's going to be a good read in singles and a great read in trade.
Maybe. But I ain't waiting for the trade.
No,
this is mine.
Fair.
This is for me.
Yes. This is a good comic. This is...
Yes, it really is.
Despite the fact we can't remember the characters' names.
No, okay. Don't need to know names.
It's a good horror venture from Boom.
It is. Let's talk about next week's comics, Zach.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we had a couple of Marvel ones, but we thought we'd mix it up and pick a Star Wars one because we haven't done any Star Wars comics yet. So we're going to do Kylo Ren, my Marvel Star Wars. It's another black label for DC. We're going to do Wonder Woman, Dead Earth. And because it is Christmas, we thought that it would be interesting. There's an Image book by Mark Millar. And we don't know what it is. We just know the name. It is like Mark Millar is going to do some kind of sequel for you. Let's see what it is. It's a secret. It's called Project Xmas. So, a Christmas mystery, a Christmas gift.
I am so apprehensive about what this is going to be.
I just like the idea of buying a book that we have no idea what it is because it's a Christmas gift.
I think it's a really cool idea. My concern here is...
Mark Millar.
Yes.
I knew it was coming.
No, you know what? I've really liked some of his indie work. And you know what? If this is a sequel to Hook, great. I loved Hook. Hook was great. We just had a sequel to Chrononauts where he released every single issue on the same day, like a lunatic.
Okay.
So I feel it's a pretty safe bet. It might not be Chrononauts.
It might be Chrononauts 1 shot.
Or it could be Chrononauts 3.
Could be.
And it will be that's why they all come out on the same day.
I love the concept.
It's mysterious.
It could be bobbins, or it could be brilliant, or it could be.
My biggest concern is if this is a sequel to a book that neither of us have read.
Yeah.
So we can't really bring
And we'll be like,
any knowledge or insight, and we're just like, this is a comic book.
well, it's that
by a man.
crazy Christmas special with the crazy Xness.
But out of the three, I'm super excited for Wonder Woman Dead Earth.
You see, I really like the Marvel Star Wars stuff. They've done some brilliant books.
Don't get me wrong, so do I. I think Kieran Gillen's Darth Vader's been probably one of the best Star
I
Wars
loved the
comics we'll ever
Chewbacca
get.
limited series. I loved how they fleshed out Brienne of Tar.
Phasma.
Thank you, Lord Phasma.
That was good.
I loved how the Captain Phasma. Sorry, I loved the Captain Phasma. How they fleshed her out, and I can't think of one that I haven't enjoyed.
That's fair. I've read all of those actually that you've listed, and I've read Lando as well.
Lando was great.
But for me, Daniel Warren Johnson doing Wonder Woman, the man's a great artist. He's a good writer. He's a fellow wrestling fan, and these are all things that make me like him as a creator.
It's not that I'm not looking forward to Dead Earth. It's just I just love the Star Wars comics, so looking forward to it. And Kylo Ren is so cool. I'm very, very much excited about it.
I think it's going to be a good week. I think the wild card here is Project Xmas.
That's exactly why we put it in, Zach.
I think it could be a huge mistake, but okay.
We'll find out. And that is next week.
Yeah.
And that's all we've got time for this week. We've pulled, we've passed.
We're going to do it all again next week.
And we will see you then.
Ta-ra.